From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including our digital cast on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Aviation historian, author, and photographer James C. Goodall is a legend in the field of black projects and Area 51. He has written 27 books to date on the high strangeness that happens in the Nevada desert and all across the United States. James is a veteran of the United States Air Force, and while in service, he fell in love with a project coming out of Dreamland, which ended up being the SR71 Blackbird. He's been to the secret base more than 80 times, at least to the gates. He's had some crazy stories coming out of there, like, was he fooling with the camo dudes or not? Jim has also been the inspiration of one of my favorite guests and speakers to date on this show, Michael Schratt. It is Michael's birthday today. Unfortunately, he is driving over to Jim's house. We're a day late with this one because we could have got them both on, but happy birthday to Michael Schratt as well. Put your camo on because we're about to get deep, deep, deep undercover tonight. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Jim Goodall, I got to meet you in San Francisco for the first time at UFO Con, and I'll tell you, my friend, what a pleasure it was to be able to walk out of that conference knowing that I had good friends like you who I just met there. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, it's my pleasure, and it was really my first UFO function of any sort that I've ever spoken to, and I was really outside of the community up until about a year ago. I was more or less, I was low observable for almost 10 years. I spent 4 years in Hawaii, and before that I was up in the Seattle area, but I didn't focus on my writing that much until I retired. And so the last 7 years I've been doing nothing but writing. But I'm delighted to be here. It was fun meeting you. When I first met you, I said, "Well, that guy's a lot of hair." And
it works that way.
I wasn't sure who you were when I wasn't sure when I first met you in the bar, and then late, and I heard you talk the first night, and said, "This guy's interesting." And then you spoke on the last night. You were one of the last speakers. Michael was one of the last ones, I think. Yeah. I can't remember, but. I enjoyed the whole thing. The people who I've known of for a long time were just a delight to meet them in person. For the very first time. So it was fun. It was fun, and I'm delighted to be here. And I'm at your beck and call for however long you want me tonight. And if there's any time in the future you want me, I'd be more than happy to come back.
Well, thank you so much for that. And to have somebody of your stature who has been investigating these black projects and the phenomena, Area 51, for the better part of 50 years, do you ever get sick of it, Jim? Do you ever sit there and say, I know there's secrets I can tell, there's secrets I can't tell, but on the flip side, this is what you are. This is what you made of. This is how you've carved your niche into the folklore of UFO phenomena and black project phenomena.
Well, my quest started really I was about 5 years old. We were living in San Jose, and my dad came in. I'd already gone to bed. There was still light out. My dad came into the bedroom, and he said, "I don't know what's coming, but you have to see it." So we go outside. We're not that far from what was then San Jose Municipal Airport. Now it's San Jose Intercontinental or International Airport. And there was a sound. The ground was vibrating, and over the coast mountains came not one, not two, but 24 Convair B-36s. And those who aren't familiar with the B-36, this is 1950-51, had a 230-foot wingspan. It had 6 28-cylinder radial engines pushing and 4 jet engines, and it could fly for 60 hours unrefueled. It was the Convair B-36 Peacemaker, and it hooked me for machines and airplanes in general. And from there, I went in and got in more trouble as it pertains to airplanes through my entire life. And I think it's why I on this planet is to snoop, and I love it.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, to see that many B-36s, which were probably the largest plane in the world at that time, coming into, the supersonic age, I mean, that totally piqued your interest. I mean, for me, I know I grew up in a town in Abbotsford, British Columbia, where you have been. They have one of the largest air shows in North America. And I remember from age 3 going to that air show and watching the old CF-101 Voodoos open it up every year from 409 Nighthawk Squadron. They were based at Comox, British Columbia, and there was 4 of them, and they were so loud that you knew that it was air show time. And, I know that love. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible feeling when you're a youngster and all of a sudden these big brooding aircraft are flying over. So when you decided to get into the Air Force, you didn't actually become a pilot. You went into grounds crew and technology and everything like that. Why didn't you become a pilot?
Well, I was a juvenile delinquent. I know you probably find that hard to believe. And I had a choice on my 17th birthday to either shape up and fly right, which I knew I wasn't going to, go to juvenile detention until I was 18 as an incorrigible youth, or go into the service. Now, my dad was born and raised in the infantry, and he wanted me to go in the infantry. And I said, hey, I aced all the entrance exam, all 5 of the categories in the military entrance exam, and I can go where I want. I'm going in the Air Force. And that's what I did. And I ended up at Shepherd Air Force Base, and from there, after tech school, I ended up at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado, which was my first experience with snow. When you grow up in the Bay Area, it doesn't snow in San Francisco. So, but in February of 1964, that was long, probably before most of your parents were born, I had a set of orders to go TDY, which is temporary duty, to Edwards Air Force Base to support 3 programs. Now, I was an 18-year-old two-striper, but I had an area of expertise in ground-based telemetry. And my job to Edwards Air Force Base to support YC-141 Starlifter Category 1 testing, the XB-70 Valkyrie Category 1 flight testing, and at the time it was a classified program for Category 1 flight testing, and the classified program turned out to be the Blackbird. And on March 10th, 1904, about 3:15 in the afternoon, I saw my first Blackbird, and I have never been the same since. When everything, you looked at Buck Rogers and Sky King and Steve Cannon and stuff like that, to see this. Now, we're talking 15 years since Jaeger went Mach 1 for the first time. And here is a 130,000-pound airplane, 107 feet long. Some of them were 105, some of them were 103, depending if it was an A-12, a YF-12, or an SR. And here's this thing that weighs 70 tons, and it's going through the air at 3,300 feet per second. That's faster than a 30-06 bullet. And it flies for an hour and a half in between air refuelings. And this thing was designed with a slide rule. And it's still, even today, you look at a Blackbird, if you saw it for the very first time and you never ever heard of a Blackbird before, you would look at it and go, oh my God, what in the... and I was 18, and it changed my entire life, absolutely. And from there, because of what I was doing at Edwards, I had to set up telemetry, and I don't know for sure, but I got on a F-27, because they call them a Freedom ship. It's made by Fokker out of Germany. It's a high-wing twin turboprop, maybe 25 to 30 passengers. We boarded one at Edwards and flew for about 90 minutes or more. The windows were blocked. You couldn't see out. And we landed still in the desert. I got out. They had buses parked on either side of the airplane, so all you could see is buses. And they said, don't look around, just go straight into the hangar. So I was in there, put my equipment in there. I had two other guys with me. We finished up about 5 hours later. We had our box lunches. We never had to leave the hangar. We were escorted back to the airplane, and we didn't have a chance to look around. Flew for another 90 to 100 minutes, landed at Edwards. I'm assuming, and based on what I know today, I was in Area 51 for 5 hours. And that really began my quest want to know everything about Area 51, to know everything about the Blackbird, things that go bump in the night. And as a natural follow-on, if you like things that go bump in the night, UFOs are the next logical step.
Well, I have to ask you, because you're also in a little bit of historic company, as you were one of the first people, if not the first, to get an actual photograph of the F-117 stealth fighter.
Correct.
How did that happen?
And there was no reason because the rest of the regular journalists, like the Brian Williams and whatever of ABC, CBS, the alphabet news organizations, they didn't want to get their floor shines dirty. I mean, I was on public lands when I photographed it, and the way I shot it, and this is really the beginning of a lot of things. One of my very, very dear friends is John Lear, and anybody in the UFO community knows John Lear, and he is a character. I've known him for 45 years, but I got into this is January of 1989. They announced the existence of the F-117. They had one very poor backlit shot with a telephoto lens, so everything was compressed. You couldn't get a real true idea what the airplane looked like. And that was announced in November of 88. So early January 89, I'm in Las Vegas visiting Lear, and we decided we're going to drive around the Nevada test site. It's only 700 miles. It's a fun thing to do during the week. So we're heading up US 95 outside of Las Vegas on the way to Tonopah, and we're near Scotty's Junction, and an F-117 is about 1,500 feet off the ground, goes almost right over us. And we about lost the car. I mean, we slammed on the brakes and jumped out, and I'm looking at John, and John's looking at me. He goes, "Holy shit, what was that?" I said, "That's the bird." So we make it into Tonopah. We have a bite to eat, and now we're heading east on US 6, and you go out of town about 14 or 15 miles, and there's a big sign, Tonopah Test Range. And they have a missile booster with a B-43 nuclear weapon on top. And now let's go down this road. So we go down the road. It's 18 miles off the main road. You come up to the main gate at Tonopah Test Range. So we decided we're going to just go along the BLM side of the fence. And we're over there, and we're just hoping to see something. And all of a sudden, here comes an F-1. We can see landing lights way, way to the north of us. So we know they're coming in on a long approach. And they were going to be about 2 miles to the west of us. So I'll still get a good side view of the airplane. And here comes this F-117 with a P-38, and I had print film. This is way before digital, because I wanted to be able to process it locally and quickly versus shooting Kodachrome. And all of a sudden it comes into view, and I have my camera out and I'm shooting away, and my whole body was surging. Now, only guys could understand this, I think. I don't know if women can or not. But it was like being an 11-year-old and seeing my first naked woman. My whole body was just surging. I mean, it was just surging. And as it turns out, out of the 36 exposures in my camera, there were only 3 that weren't blurred. But fortunately, they were a good side shot. They also got a bottom shot. So, I was excited beyond belief. Jump in the car with Lear, and we're heading back to Las Vegas. And on the we got to Warm Springs. That's where the northern terminus of the the extraterrestrial highway heading towards Rachel. It's the Nevada 375. We turned down that. Okay, we're just clipping along. There's nobody out there, and we're doing 100 miles an hour. We get into Rachel, and we grab a quick bite, and then we head off to Vegas. Get into Las Vegas about 9:15 at night. All of the photo mats, that's what you have to go to get your film processed. We're like your little kiosks where you can buy coffee today, the baristas. Well, that used to be the same type of little shack where you drop your film off. But they were all closed. I wait till the next day, and I was getting real antsy. And John Lear said, "Well, I got a buddy of mine coming over about 9:30. I think you'll find him interesting. He's just moving here from Albuquerque. Seems like a fun guy. He's interviewing for a job out in the desert." I said, "Great." So about 9:30, I hear a knock on the door, and John goes, to the front door, opens up, and in comes this young guy, nice-looking guy, comes in, and Lear says to his friend, "This is Jim Goodall," and then John says, "Jim, this is Bob Lazar." And nice to meet him, smart, very, very interesting. He'd been at Sandia Labs in Albuquerque designing nuclear weapons. So I told him my dilemma about the film, and he said, "Well, I have a processing unit at home. It's a C41 processing unit for Kodacolor 100, which I was using, and I can print them as well." So fine, let's go. So we jump in the car, and we're heading out. John Lear lives near Sunrise Mountain, which is near Nellis. Lazar at the time lived off of West Charleston way on the other side of town. So we're heading out there, and Bob looks at me. He said, "I feel sorry for Lear." I said, "What do you mean you feel sorry for Lear?" And Lazar says, "He's from this incredibly world-famous aviation family. I mean, his dad brought Learjet to the marketplace, and the dumb son of a bitch believes in UFOs. How stupid is that?" He said, "I'm a nuclear physicist. If I can't prove it mathematically or put my hands on it, it doesn't exist." Now, this is the same Bob Lazar that a year later came out from the black saying that he had worked on reverse engineering propulsion systems for alien spacecraft. Bob Lazar, you couldn't put a gun to his head to convince him that UFOs were real. At least not until he went to work on them.
Well, we're going to get more into the whole Bob Lazar thing in a little bit here. James C. Goodall is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. In everything that you have seen and everything that you have experienced throughout your life when it comes to aviation and aviation history, is there anything that you haven't seen that you've wanted to make an impact on your life prior to, retiring or moving on?
One thing I wanted to do, and the only reason it didn't happen, because I have a habit of stepping on toes and fingers. And like my TI in basic training told me, he said, "Goodall, you have everything going for you but your mouth." I have, unfortunately, in my life, upset some key people associated with the Blackbird program. And I had an opportunity to go for a ride on one, but I had really, because I got the Blackbird -1 published in 1990, actually 89, when the program came to an end, that there's the people at NASA that would have facilitated my flight said not no, but hell no. So that's the one thing I missed out doing. I would love to have been there for the first flight of the XB-70. I was there for the early flights of the Blackbird, and that by itself is incredible. But I wish I'd have seen the XB-70 fly. That's probably
me too.
Not a regret, but something I wish I'd had an opportunity to do, because very few people saw it fly, and it's. I've been to the Air Force Museum, and I've seen it as in its resting spot. And I went over Palmdale. They took a group of us over to Palmdale, and I had got a chance to see the XB-70s, both of them being put together, but I never did see them fly. It kept getting delayed, and my job was done once I got all the equipment and it was all working properly. So.
Why did
That's my only regret.
Why did the XB-70 project quickly here? Why didn't it ever go through? Was it expense?
No, it was the missile people killed it. So we don't need intercontinental bombers when we can just press a button and have something fly 6,000 miles away without putting a flight crew at risk. So they decided intercontinental ballistic missiles were the preferred way of Armageddon versus a bomber. At least a bomber can be recalled. If you launch a Minuteman III out of Montana or North Dakota or whatever it is, once it leaves the hole, it's going to its destination, and
yeah, for sure.
There's no way to stop it. There's no way to stop it. So
well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. James, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. James C. Goodall, he is a legend in the field of aviation history, the United States Air Force history, Area 51 history, the SR71, the F-117 Blackbird. And later on in the show, we're also going to get into this new aircraft that is making a buzz around Dreamland in Nevada. Maybe once this quarantine ends, we can all drive down there together and watch it fly. Yes. More on Spaced Out Radio as we get deep into the black projects with Jim Goodall tonight. We'll be back.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters with a beautiful moonlight shining into the studio tonight. Wow, it looks beautiful. Hey, it's not snowing here. It's not snowing. That is reason to cheer. If you live where I live, on top of the mountains. I couldn't even go Bigfooting this weekend. My buddy, cable guy Matt, him and I were going to go out looking for Bigfoot. We start up the logging trail, the logging road that we wanted to go on. We got about, maybe 2.5 miles in, and snow. The snow was too thick to continue. We could not continue. So we had to turn around. We got to wait a couple weeks for it to melt. Typical Canadian, I know. All right. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight we are talking with legendary author of Everything Black Project. We got Jim Goodall here. James has been published 27 times in regards to subjects like the SR71, the F-117, Black Projects, Area 51. My friend, I got to ask you right off the bat, you have been to Area 51 about 80 times, maybe 81 or 82.
I've been to the fence line. Now, I guess the statute of limitations is gone, so they can't do anything to me. It had to be 90 or 91, no, maybe 92. I was already finished with Desert Storm, and it was winter time, and it was cold, and that's the best time to be out in the desert because you don't have to worry about snakes and scorpions and stuff like that. The woman I was married to made a poncho for me that I asked her to make. And I used 2 survival blankets. Those are the ones that are aluminized on one side and day glow orange on the other. And I had her sew on a desert infrared suppressive fabric on the thing. And then she made a poncho. And I walked in about 3 miles into Area 50 from the north fence line. And there's about 10 or 15 little rises you have to go across. And I went over about 3 or 4 of them. I realized I still had another 7 or 8 to go. I probably lost 10 pounds of sweat at 30 degrees because I was waiting for that whoop, 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 whoop to come by and then halt. But that didn't happen. I was a nervous wreck. And I finally wandered out. And the thing about the poncho, it would make me invisible to infrared seekers. In other words, if they were just going through with their infrared scanner, whether it be at night or even during the day, looking for a hot spot, a body, if I heard them coming, all I had to do was crouch down and pull everything in around me. And I blended right in with the surrounding area, and I had no infrared signature. But trust me, when I got back to my car, it was actually a truck. I was absolutely sopping wet. I had sweated. I sweated about it. It had to be at least a quart of sweat out of me in that 3 miles that I walked in 30-degree weather. But I didn't want to get shot, so. But other than that, I have I make it a point not to try to break the law because they can make life very, very unhealthy for you. When the second time that I was with John Lear, we went out in the desert. This was after the F-117 incident. And we decided we were going to go down the back road to Area 51. That is the one as you come over Hancock Summit into Typical Valley where the black mailbox is. And it's due east of the Groom Dry Lake. John and I were in I have a rent-a-car. I had a Cadillac Seville, one of the newer versions. And we're doing about 70 miles an hour on this dirt road. And this A7 Corsair 2 flew over us probably 400 miles an hour, about 50 feet off the deck. And we blew us off the road. We jump out. Of course, we're waiting for the dust to clear. And the A7 actually disappears from view because it's sort of a domed valley. And we were on the one side of the dome, and this A7 continued over and literally disappeared. And then he went straight up in a corkscrew up to probably about 10,000 feet and headed right into Area 51. So that was kind of thrilling, but we kept driving. We went past the sign saying restricted area, use of deadly force authorized, no cameras and whatever. And we come up to the guard shack, and we're about 3/4 of a mile, half a mile into Area 51 proper. And we come up to this guard shack, 20 by 20 foot building, nothing special about it, but we could see the entire base from there. I mean, it was right there. And we get out, and the guard comes out, and he's not sporting his weapon. He just comes out, and he said, "Can I help you guys?" And he said, "No, it's just we're bird watchers. We saw this road. Just wanted to go down and see where it went." And he said, "Well, this is as far as it went." And then about the same time, another guard's coming out of the guard shack. Now, this guy had no neck. He was a reject from the NFL because he was too big. And he's putting his 30-round clip into his M16. So it was a good guy, bad guy cop, I guess. And Lear, and those of you who have never had a chance to spend any time with John Lear, he's a character. So he asked the young guy, the blonde-haired guy that wasn't grotesquely muscled, I said, "Mind if I just take a picture of your guard shack?" And the big guy says, "Yes, we mind. And if you do, you're going to be interviewed by some very, very unfriendly people." And so I looked at John and said, "Time to go." And we jumped in and headed back out. Today, they would confiscate your car. They would tow it to Pinoche, which is 100 miles away. And it'll probably cost you $25,000 with fines and recovering the rental car, or maybe it was your own car. I'm sure they towed it. If they towed it 100 miles, they probably weren't very gentle with it either. And then you got to find a way to get to Pinoche, which is in the middle of nowhere. So you got to get a friend to drive you there to pick up your car, pay the fine for storage, and then drive it back. So it's not something you want to do.
No, that happened.
But people
that happened to a bus. That happened to a bus company, a tourist bus company out of Vegas a couple of years ago, where the driver was busy telling stories to his passengers about Area 51 and accidentally drove right past the gate because there is no actual gate. It's like a cattle guard that with a sign.
Well, I think today there is, ever since the storm Area 51 thing started. Now I was there. I was both at the base camp and in Rachel. There was probably as many security people in that general vicinity than there were participants. But the word came down from the Pentagon. I got a buddy of mine at Nellis, and the word came down saying there will be no penetration of the perimeter of Area 51, period. And they had brought in probably every available non-lethal crowd control system that they could bring in relatively short notice. They had contacted the governor of Nevada to be on call in case they had to call the National Guard. I'm sure there was probably a guard garrison was already called up and ready to go if push came to shove. The thing about Area 51, the security people at Area 51, both the Air Force and Wackenhut, they have no jurisdiction outside the fence line. They can't arrest you. They can harass you, but they can't do it. There's nothing they can legally do to you. The people who can do that are local law enforcement, sheriff, highway patrol, and the National Guard if the governor had needed to call them up. But they had two systems behind the fence line, because there's only two places you can really breach the perimeter. Excuse me. The north fence line where I walked in, it's about 3 miles here, back in the mid-'90s, early '90s, and the east side, which is the road that Lear and I went down. Those are the only two areas that they had to defend. The others, the west and the south. The south is in part of a major wildlife refuge, and the other side is connected to the Nevada test site, and you'll get shot if you try to get into there. But they had their non-lethal stuff. They had the microwave crowd control system that will make you feel like you're on fire. And then they have what they call the brown sound. I believe it's an extremely low frequency, it's real powerful. And if it hits you as you're coming, because someone said, how are they going to stop 2 million people? All you got to do is shoot the first guy. Nobody else to run. But the brown sound causes you to totally, completely evacuate in your bowels. And a pants full of poop really reduces your level of enthusiasm for trying to breach the fence line.
Oh, my goodness. All right. We have James Goodall here on Spaced Out Radio. We know about the SR71 starting there. We know about the U-2 starting there. We know about the F-117 starting there. And we're going to get more into the UFOs and the woo side of things with Bob Lazar in hour number 2. But what do you think is still there? What do you think they're testing there? Or are they still testing UFOs? What do you think's going on at the base?
Well, first of all, this is per the former facility manager there. There's no underground facility at Area 51. What I know they're testing there now, they're testing special purpose UAVs, and they're probably I've been told that they're flight testing either the technology demonstrator or a pre-production version of the Northrop Grumman B-21 Raider, which is a replacement. It's a Batmobile like the B-2. Same people build it, smaller airplane. It'll be a high altitude only versus high for the B-2. And it's going to be probably twin engine versus 4 engine, probably a single bomb bay versus a double bomb bay on the B-2. But it can carry 30,000 pounds of weapon, whether it's 500 pounders, 250 pound smart bombs, or the MOP, the massive ordnance penetrator, which the B-2 can carry 2 of them. They weigh 30,000 pounds apiece, and the Raider probably can carry 1. But it's supposed to be an all aspect stealth, as where the B-2 is just have selective signature reductions. I'm not an engineer, nor do I profess to be, but there's a major difference in the radar cross section, both of each airplane. The Raider is supposed to have a smaller radar cross section, or RCS, than the B-2, but not as small of a radar cross section as the F-117. Yes, the F-117 is just an incredible airplane, and Ben Rich, who was in charge of the Skunk Works at the time it was built, he said he's more proud of the F-117 and the capabilities that he couldn't talk about even today. Well, he's gone now, but he wanted to talk about how well the airplane flew. He said even though he was faceted, and it was the only faceted airplane ever to be operational or even to fly. Airfoils need to have round surfaces and whatever, but the F-117 had nothing but flat edges on the airplane.
Yes.
And it flew and took off perfectly. And right at V1, and the nose would lift off, and as you accelerated, the airplane would just take to the sky. So they decided they were going to do a study in wind tunnel, and using the F-117, but give it a blended fuselage, and it flew like crap. Even with fly-by-wire, they said it was a terrible handling airplane. That's where the F-117 was probably one of the best handling fly-by-wire airplanes that Ben had any experience in. So
I got to ask you about that, though, because recently, over the last number of months, the F-117 retired in 2008, and it was apparently cut. If I'm correct on this, please correct me if I'm wrong. It was apparently cut due to budget concerns and the expense of upkeep on the aircraft. However, recently, over the last number of months, the aircraft has been seen flying out of Tonopah again. So if the aircraft is technically retired from service, why would they be flying it again? Or what kind of secrets do you think they're trying to cover up by flying that aircraft?
Well, the F-117s that were stored at Tonopah are what they call Class 1000 storage, which means they should be able to be reactivated and go operational, which within a specific time frame, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or whatever. It depends on the airplane. And to teach their air defense people and fighters on dissimilar air combat with a low observable airplane, they didn't want to use the F-1. They didn't want to use the F-22s. That's the only other operational stealth fighter out there. They didn't want to use that because there's only 187 of them to start with, and they've lost a number of them. So they've taken 4 of the Class 1000 stored F-117s. They reconstituted them, put them back into flying status, and they fly them in dissimilar air combat and air tactics against stealth. Now, the 117s are, anybody who's seen an F-117 flying recently, you probably aren't going to see them probably by midsummer. They're taking the first 13 F-35s. They're full-scale development aircraft, and they really can't be back modified effectively. But they're still low observables. They're going to use the F-35s as their dissimilar air combat stealth aircraft versus the F-117. So you'll probably see some F-35s in Nellis painted up in Russian markings or Syrian markings or whatever, just to give the other guys who are going after a bogey that's a little observable, something to a visual clue. So they're going to use the F-117s until the F-35, the early model F-35s, come into service. The Air Force has already announced that publicly. I heard this about 3 years ago, and they announced it about a year ago. So
yeah, that's very interesting.
Question on the F-117.
Well, what's funny is I actually got questioned by a certain group of people because when I was 18 years old, I went to the Abbotsford Air Show in Abbotsford, British Columbia, and this would have been August of 1991, and they had an F-117 there, and the pilot wore this slogan on his patch on his shoulder, which was of the F-117 strike fighter, and it was called "We Own the Night," which is our slogan that we use because I absolutely loved getting an opportunity to chat with that pilot at 18 years old. And that's the slogan we use. Well, then you learn that the NRO also has this, the National Reconnaissance Organization, for people who don't know, also has this little slogan called "We Own the Night." So, no, just so anybody was wondering, we aren't spooks or anything like that. We just like the F-117, and that's why we, decided to use their theme for what we do here. So that's the truth of the matter, but that's for another story another time. We only got about 3 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Jim Goodall is our guest tonight, and we're talking Area 51. Jim, as things get going, everybody still thinks and believes that when it comes to Area 51, it's always about aliens. It's always about aliens. It's always about Bob Lazar, and we're going to get into Lazar coming up here at the next break. But do you feel that the mystery and the mystique of Area 51 is still warranted?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I've been told, or it's been implied, that there are other facilities, and not necessarily in America. I think probably Pine Gap would probably be a good candidate for spooky airplane programs or whatever. But the facility at Area 51 is primarily a flight test facility for airplanes or platforms that you don't want the public to see. Unfortunately, with today's satellites, there's almost nothing that can get into the air or taxi out and take off without being observed. But some of the things they've done at Area 51 is they run live steam through the ramp, so it obliterates any heat signature that an airplane has been sitting on a hot ramp, and now it moves. Now you can see its shadow. So they run live steam through the ramp, and it neutralizes that cold spot, if you want to call it that.
Right.
It's primarily for conventional flight test. Now, there's a place right around the corner on Papoose Lake that may be for something else, but we can get into that in the next session. So, no, it's Area 51 is a conventional flight test facility, whether the airplanes or the things are flying there, whether they're conventional or not. It's still basically a mechanical machine powered either by jet engines, turboprops, or rockets. I don't think they're. I had a friend of mine who was there for 5 years in the 80s, and he's a UFO fanatic, and he said, and he was everywhere in the base, and he didn't see anything other than conventional stuff. Some of it you would say, "Wow, where did that come from?"
Well, let's get more into it in the next hour. James C. Goodall, legendary author, UFO researcher, Black Projects researcher. We continue on Spaced Out Radio with Hour 2 next. Stay tuned.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hi. This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 is underway tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around the continent. On the digital side, you can find us on TalkStream Live 24/7 and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Annuint. Annuint is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and keeping up to date on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. And if you haven't already, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and my personal account at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight we are talking with Jim Goodall. James has been following the Black Projects for the better part of 50 years, especially out of Area 51. And a number of years ago, going back about 31 years ago now, he met a gentleman named Bob Lazar through John Lear down in Las Vegas. Jim, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here.
What was it like meeting Bob Lazar?
Well, he's a really nice guy, and you can tell almost immediately he's smart and very unassuming. But the thing that got I know Bob Lazar from a different perspective of most everybody else out there, because I met him before he went to work out in the desert, and before he went to work out there, you couldn't put a gun to his head to convince him that UFOs were real. He's told me himself. He said the biggest mistake I ever made in my life was going public with this, even though he wanted to protect himself. He's had a gun put to his head. They called him out to Indian Springs, which is now Creech Air Force Base, which is up US 95 outside of Las Vegas. And they threatened his life. They threatened his wife's life. His wife passed away or died or something. I can't remember all the exact circumstances. I thought I did, but I was told that I was wrong. But he just felt that he needed to protect himself, and that's why he went public. He went with George Knapp. And for the first couple of times that he was on the air on KLAS, Channel 8 out of Las Vegas, he was just a silhouetted head. They altered his voice. And there's a lot of people out there say, oh, Bob Lazar's a fraud. Bob Lazar doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Bob Lazar is a plant or whatever. And I have to say, no, I know the guy. I believe him 100%. He is what he said he is. He's a good example is Edward Teller hired him, and Edward Teller was asked, and George Knapp asked him, I think a couple other journalists asked Edward Teller, what is your comment on, can you comment on Bob Lazar? And he said, no comment. And people say, well, then Bob Lazar must be a flake in not he wasn't hired by Edward Teller. That is wrong. If Bob Lazar was the charlatan, the pretender that people say he is, then all Teller had to say is, he's a fraud. I've never heard of him. I've never seen him. I don't even know. I don't know who this guy is. But if you deal in a classified environment, you can neither confirm nor deny the existence of a person working on a program, or even admit that you even know the person. You can neither commit nor deny the existence of Bob Lazar. And Edward Teller would have told the world, Bob's a flake. I've never met him. I don't know where he got the story at, but I never hired him. He never did that. When George Knapp went to Albuquerque, that's where Sandia Labs is located, he went to their public access part of the library, the Sandia Library. And he went and got the phone book of the time Bob Lazar said he was there. And he pulls and you can't totally eliminate people, but George got this phone book, opens it up. There's Robert Lazar in the room he said he worked in the phone number that he said he had, and the two other people that worked in his lab were also assigned to the same room, the same phone number. So that was sort of a huzzah. And Bob has a lot of fun hobbies. He is a master fireworks maker, commercial grade fireworks. He had a thing called Desert Blast for 13 years, and finally the powers that be, and post 9/11, it was just it wasn't proper anymore to go down that road, so he quit it. But he's just so well known, and he has one of his hobbies is he races a jet car, or he used to race a jet car. He had a Lamborghini Countach body on it, and he would do 300 miles an hour in a quarter mile. And Lazar had told George Knapp had told George that he was written up in the local Albuquerque newspaper. So when George is down there going to the Sandia Labs, his next stop was at the local newspaper. He pulls up the article on Professor Bob Lazar, works at Sandia, working on developing stuff for the military. What he does to relax on weekends, he goes 300 miles an hour in his jet car. Now, Bob Lazar was a fraud. Why was he written up in the Albuquerque paper? Okay, those are a couple of things right there that validate who Bob is. So let's fast forward to Desert Storm. I'm activated. I was in the Air Guard. I had active duty, 5 years active duty, a 10-year break, and then 21 years as a traditional weekender with the Minnesota Air Guard. And I was activated for Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And I had Bob Lazar's W-2 from when he worked out at S4. It didn't say S4. It was Department of Navy something. And I couldn't find that name anywhere in the Pentagon directory. So I went into, it wasn't NCIS, but it was Naval Investigations. Maybe it was Investigative Services. I'm not sure. But I walked in. I'm in uniform. At the time, I was a tech sergeant. I walk into the office. I had some downtime. And there's a young Lieutenant JG sitting behind the desk. And I said, "Sir, can you tell me where this location is?" And I handed him Bob's W-2. And he looks at it for a second. He gets up. He goes into the 2 stars office. He's in there for 35, 45 seconds. Comes out and he says, "The Admiral will see you." Now, I came in that office unannounced. No two-star Navy admiral is going to talk to an enlisted puke from the Air Force unless it's something really serious. So I go into the office, I give him a sharp salute, and he says, parade rest, and I go to parade rest, and he's holding Lazar's W-2 in his right hand. And he says, Sergeant, I don't know where you got this, but if I ever see your face cross the threshold of my office again, you'll be the most sorry son of a bitch in the United States Air Force. Do you understand me, Sergeant? I said, yes, sir. And with that, he puts Bob's W-2 into shredder. And he looked at me. I mean, this was a nasty look. He looked at me and he says, you're dismissed. So I did an about, saluted him, did an about face and left. I have, if Bob was a fraud, the Admiral would have not gone ballistic like that.
That makes sense.
Lieutenant J.G. would have never gotten up and say, this is from a location he knows it's classified. Apparently, I don't know for sure, but apparently the zip codes in Washington, D.C. are 20201 through 20243 or something like that. But there's a group of zip codes like 20235 through 20242 maybe, that go to classified locations. The zip code is classified. And that's maybe what got this Lieutenant J.G. to get up and go into the Admiral's office. But if Bob was not real, if Bob was a flake, Edward Teller would have said so. He would have not appeared in the local Albuquerque newspaper. Professor Bob Lazar goes 300 miles an hour on weekends, and this Navy two-star admiral would not have had a cow because I had Lazar's W-2. And his story's never changed. And I was there at the beginning when all this stuff is coming down. I mean, I wasn't in Vegas that often, but I was sharing contact with Bob, and I was in sure contact with John Lear all the time, and I knew what was happening. And I sat down with George Knapp, I think locally there in Vegas at least 8 or 9 times over the last 30 years. And I have no reason to believe that he's not who he says he is. And the other thing, and sort of step back, I had a very, I call him a dear friend. I was probably a nice associate and a good break from his normal routine. But Ben Rich, who at the time was the president of Lockheed Skunk Works, we had almost a pen pal type relationship. I talked to him once every 3 months for 25 years. He'd either call me or I would call him. And just before he died, I think it was in '96, he was at USC Medical Center. He had stage 4 esophageal cancer, and I guess it's very painful and he can't eat. And he was a very slight man to begin with. And we're talking, and we were talking about our mutual friend John Andrews, who Ben loved. He just loved the way John's mind worked. And he said, Jim, we have things out in the desert, and he wasn't referring to Area 51. He said, Jim, we have things out in the desert that's 50 years beyond what you can comprehend. Not what you think you can build in 50 years, but what you can comprehend. And if you've seen movies like Star Trek and Star Wars, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort.
That's scary to believe.
Now that right there validates Bob Lazar.
Do you
the gentleman I know?
But do you buy? I apologize for cutting you off there. Do you buy the story though about Bob's education? Because that is one of the red flags that many people have, that he's never been able to go back to MIT or to go back to Michigan or Caltech and get his education certifications, or there's never been anybody come out from any of his graduating classes or school classes. Look, I think for those of us who've gone to college, we know there are people out there who can vouch that we are there. You know, I've have people who have questioned whether or not I'm a journalist, for instance. Okay, but I've brought people on the air that I've worked with before.
I mean, there's people who went to Columbia University at the same time that President Obama was there, and no one can remember seeing him. So either you're a Walter Mitty and you don't stand up. I mean, I went to the University of Minnesota and University of Washington. I bet there isn't a person on this planet that can remember me in a classroom. Or, I mean, I'm sure the teachers, you know, the instructors and the professors probably wouldn't remember me anyway, unless I became very vocal in the class. But Bob, it was confirmed that he did research at Caltech. That has been confirmed. He couldn't do that. He couldn't get that job unless he had a degree in physics or one of those disciplines. When the night that I met Bob Lazar, when we went over to his house over West Charleston, and we went into his house. Now in the driveway, on the side of the driveway is his jet car. So I walk in there. This is when the hottest thing going was a Pentium 3 computer. He has a 19-inch NEMA rack. That's where you put electronic equipment for people who aren't familiar with it. And it's a standard size rack. And he had it. It was a 5-foot tall rack, and it was filled with computers. It was I think he had a DEC or HP Mini computer, which would be the equivalent of maybe an iPhone 1 as far as its capabilities back then. And There was a big, beautiful diploma on the wall. I saw the diploma. I didn't spend any time reading it, because when you go into someone's house for the very first time, you're looking around. There's a lot of interesting stuff here, but you're not going to sit there and analyze everything that's in his house. I remember seeing what I thought was a college degree. The other thing, Bob Lazar does not exist prior to 1989. The Social Security card that he's had since he was in high school, or probably junior high school, apparently has never been issued. And he has the card. If the federal government wants to make you a non-person, they have the means to do it. Now they will miss something. They will miss something like, the phone book at Sandia with Bob's name in it. I'm sure if you weren't into Glee Club or debate club, or you weren't an athlete or whatever, maybe you didn't show up on the day they had seen your pictures. I don't know. But the guy's brilliant. The guy still services radiation detection system for the Department of Energy. He has an area of expertise that apparently very few people have, and he's had a contract forever to do that kind of work.
Well, and that's what bugs me about it. That's what bugs me about it, James, is, here's a gentleman who claims that the government was trying to kill him, goes against the government, spills a bunch of secrets that he wasn't allowed to spill, gets away with it, okay, under whatever else. I have my own theories about that, because I do believe deep down somewhere that between Harry Reid and Robert Bigelow back at that time, that they got him protected from anything. And yet, if this man is so, rude by the United States Navy, the military, and the, private contractors out at Area 51, especially S4, how is he able to get government contracts today?
Because the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, for one. And for two, he has the area of expertise, whether he's liked or not. He has a certain level of expertise that is beneficial to a certain segment of the federal government. They keep him, I don't think it's full-time work, but they keep him, they keep him in pocket change at least, I would think. Now, I will know more this summer, because on my way to Puget Sound. For those of you who don't know, I live in the greater Tucson area. And the month of August, the temperature is between 110 and 116. So my wife and I, we rent a cabin on Puget Sound, the south end of Puget Sound, every year. And but on my way up to Puget Sound and Dash Point, I'm going to stop by and spend at least a full day and hopefully a night with Bob Lazar and his lovely wife there in South Central Oregon. I won't say where, but he lives in Oregon. And I will have this will be the first time since things have gotten crazy with Jeremy doing his Bob Lazar special and a bunch of other stuff that I'll have a chance just to shoot the fat with Bob. And it should be fun. And then while I'm up there, assuming that we're not still on martial law or lockdown, I'm going to go up to Abbotsford. And you said that you were going to show up if they have the air show this year. I definitely want to go up to your place and spend a day or two with you, hoping something will happen.
Absolutely. We'll make sure them aliens arrive. Much more than, going to find them aliens in the desert. We only have a couple minutes left before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. James C. Goodall is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you think that the documentary that was done about Bob, that was done by Jeremy Corbell, did him any justice?
No, I mean, I've known Jeremy interviewed me for about 4 hours here, about 3 or 4 years ago, and nice guy. I mean, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Bob. Did it do him any justice? I think it was too much hype, but that's the type of thing that Jeremy was putting together. So I don't think it helped Lazar any. Because, like I say, some of it was a little bit cheesy. Some of it was, it was like when you go to a concert, you can't even hardly hear the entertainer because they're blasting off fireworks and flashing lights and dancing girls and whatever. I think it was just too much background noise to really get in my opinion. Now, my opinion is everybody, it's like rear ends. Everybody has one. But Bob, I'm looking at it from a different perspective because I know Bob, and Bob I consider he's not a close friend, but he's a friend, and I think he's been. I think people who don't know what the hell they're talking about have said what they based an opinion that they're presenting as fact about Bob Lazar as a charlatan. Bob Lazar is not who he says he is. As far as I'm concerned, Bob Lazar is who he is. And he has never changed. Back early on in the early part of his coming out party, if you want to call it that, they were production companies and other UFO related stuff from Europe and even from Australia. They were ready to pay him big bucks if he would just say, yeah, I also met the Grays and the
James, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Okay. James Goodall, Area 51, Black Projects, Bob Lazar. Lots going on here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other. Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have each and every one of you with us, especially if you're into weird jets in Area 51. We're going to get into some UFOs as well. I want to remind you before we bring back our guest that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Don't forget, if you're on Twitter, give us a follow, will you? At Spaced Out Radio is the show one, and my personal one is at Dave Scott SOR. We'd greatly appreciate it. We're talking with aviation historian James Goodall tonight. He's got 27 books out there. You can find them all on Amazon online, because this is the type of author, if you want to learn a little bit more about a lot of strange, weird things flying in the sky above, this is the guy who would know. James, welcome back.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And where do you want to start? Where do you want to go?
Well, we were talking about Bob Lazar the last half hour. And, you know, you said that Bob really did not believe in UFOs when you first met him. And, you know, obviously he got busted by the military with Gene Huff and John Lear. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for him working at Area 51 and most namely S4. Did you ever get a chance to sit down with Bob and talk to him specifically about UFOs?
Oh, he went through from the first time he saw it, first time he touched it, first time he looked inside of it. The weird feeling, because the thing was not touching anything. And you know, when you're around something that's using a lot of electricity, you'll get that hum, sort of it's not really something you put your finger on it, but you can sort of feel it. Almost like a corona around he referred to it as a sports model. And he said the first time he touched it, he pushed on it, and it moved just a hair. But it just, as he pushed harder, it wouldn't move anymore. So he talked about what he saw in the hallway. He said there were posters of graves, but he never saw them. They said, "We're here." They referred to people here, saw either in documentation or in conversations, referred to them as the kids because they're small. And he wasn't there all that long, but he did figure out how the spacecraft was moving, how it propelled itself through the universe. And he said you can go from one end of the universe to the other, which is 14.4 billion light years across, and you could transit that distance in a blink of an eye. So there was no time interval that you lost. Now, maybe on the other end, when you came back, the world had changed completely, maybe a billion years. I don't know. But he said you can you have to be real good at navigating, and it'd be like Those of you who've seen the original not Kirk Douglas, is it not Michael Douglas? Oh, come on, what's his name? Oh, no. He's with Goldie Hawn. That's not Douglas. When the hell is that? He's married to him or living with her for the last 40 years.
Kurt Russell.
In the movie, Kurt Russell. I don't know why that wouldn't come out. In the movie Stargate, where they had to figure out the precise coordinates to go across the universe into a different solar system, and they did. And that would be probably the same amount of navigation you need to go from here to wherever you wanted to go in the universe. Now, Ben Rich, and this was at UCLA, and it's documented that someone asked him a question about technology, and Ben said, this is years ago, long before he died, he said, "We have the ability to send ET home, but the government will not allow that technology to be released." Now, how do you take ET home? The only way to do it is in a spacecraft or a flying saucer or an unknown aerial phenomena or an aerial phenomena of the unknown. I don't even know what they call it. Is it UAP now?
Unidentified
aerial
that's
phenomenon.
That fancy new term, yes, that none of us like.
It's a UFO. It's a flying saucer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, this Ben said that I think at UCLA or in a very, very large gathering back in the 80s, and it didn't raise any eyebrows. So and if anyone was privy to that type of information, it would be Ben and Kelly, and I'm sure probably Jeff Babion, who's the new boss there at the Skunk Works today, probably is aware of things that would surprise the hell out of you and I. Now, there's a gentleman, I won't use his name because he's still alive, and he now denies it, but he didn't at the time, and I remember it like it happened 10 minutes ago. It's a Blackbird pilot. I was interviewing him because he crashed one. So I went to his house. He didn't live that far from my dad. And I was out visiting my dad, and I called him up, this guy up, and said, "Hey, can I sit down with you and chat, talk about airplanes and stuff?" He said, "Sure." So I went to his house, and we were talking about this and that, and he had lost he had to bail out of a Blackbird, way back when. And I said, "Hey, do you believe in UFOs?" And he looked at me, he says, "Absolutely, positively, they do exist." I said, "Well, do you want to expand upon that?" And he said, "Sure." He was flying a night training mission out of Kadena, Okinawa, and somewhere in the late part of 72, early part of 73. The Vietnam War was still going balls to the wall. He was flying a night training mission early on in the A-12 and the early part of the SR71 program. It only flew and operated during the daytime. And as sensors improved, infrared sensors, electronic sensors improved, they started flying an occasional night operational mission. So they were flying in the far western Pacific. They're flying out of Okinawa, Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, which is part of, I think it's in the islands, part of Japan. And you see, it was about 11:30 at night. It was a 3/4 moon off the port side of the airplane. He's at 78,000 feet at about Mach 2.7, which is probably 1,800 miles an hour or thereabouts. 3/4 moon, and all of a sudden he gets a glint off another object going in the same direction at the same speed he was going, but about 5 miles or so away, and he said probably 6,000 or 7,000 feet above him. So he contacts Kadena on secure voice, and I said, "Do we have another SR up?" And he said, "No, you're up there by yourself." I said, "No, I'm not. Look, we'll take a look." So about then, his backseater said, "Hey, we have company." He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a closer look." Now the Blackbirds love to fly fast, and at Mach 2.7 at 78,000 feet, the throttle is an absolute minimum back afterburner. And as the airplane lightens up, it has a tendency, it will climb, but the autopilot will keep throttling back until you're almost out of burner, because the airplane just wants to fly fast, and it'll fly itself out of its envelope if you let it. So he pushes the throttles forward. He starts gaining altitude, and he's about a 10-degree bank off to the starboard side. That's to the right, to those of you who are not aware of point and starboard is. There are people out there that don't, and he kept his eye on it, and he got closer and closer, and he was climbing up. He probably said he was about 82,000 feet, still probably a mile or so away, and this thing takes off like a bat out of hell. He said about a 30-degree angle of attack, and it left him in the dust. He figured he lost track of it going between 180 and 200,000 feet, and separation speed somewhere in the neighborhood of I think he said about 8,000 miles an hour at Mach 12. And
no kidding.
He couldn't believe what he was looking at. So 9 years later, he retires from the Air Force. And if you worked in the spooky airplane business, you have a high security clearance. It's natural to stay in that industry. So he ended up at Area 51 as a civilian. And once he was there, he got there about 1980, 81. Once he got comfortable with everybody, and he knew most everybody because it's a very, very small community, and he started asking around. He said, "Did we ever fly anything out of here that would go Mach 12? They said, "Well, not out of here." And he said he was probably in every single building in Area 51, and said there's no underground facility. He couldn't find anybody that knew anything about a Mach 18 airplane, or Mach 12 airplane, excuse me. And but years later, when Bob Lazar stuff came out, he asked a buddy of his that was at Area 51 and they call them the red and whites, the Janet flights. He said, "When you're on the red and whites, do you know who Bob Lazar is?" And this one guy asked, he said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you ever see him on any of the red and whites going up to the site?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "He looks real familiar." So there's another person who may have seen Bob Lazar. But at the same time, stuff that was being offloaded off of trucks, being put on other trucks, maybe offloaded off of the cargo aircraft, put it on flatbed trucks going to somewhere else, was indicated going to it had S4 written on it. So does S4 exist? I don't know. Bob said he worked there. Another piece to the puzzle. I got a buddy of mine who was one of the first enlisted guys on the F-117 program. And he's at Area 51 for 3 years. I mean, he goes home on the weekends, but he's there during the week. And it was a time when the airplanes, the 117s, were still in real early flight test, and there was little or no activity for him and two other guys, and they had access to a Humvee, an H-1. Their security badge is good for the entire Nellis range, Area 51, Nevada test site, the Tonopah test range, everything. So they're kind of bored, and they drove around the north end of the Papoose range and just sort of followed the edge of the foothills around until they came to the Papoose dry lake bed. And they were looking for old bottles, things that maybe miners had left here and there and whatever. And they were just sort of, looking for stuff. They were bored. You're in the middle of the desert. What do you do when you have access to a Humvee? You go for a road trip. So he said they were there maybe 10 minutes. And out of nowhere came a handful, and I didn't say if there was 2, 4, 6, whatever, but he said a handful of black-clad security people with their hands on their weapons wanted to know what they were doing there. Now, there was no vehicle. They didn't arrive in any vehicle. They don't know where they came from. But they looked at everybody's security badges and their IDs and told them to get the hell out of here. You may have authority to be here, but you're not welcome. Go. And he left. And he was casually telling me about his time at Area 51. He wasn't relating that to anything, but that's exactly where Bob Lazar said that S4 was located. So that's another piece. That's another piece to the puzzle. I mean, it's pretty soon you get enough of these pieces, and the picture shows that Bob Lazar is who he says he is. At least in my opinion, at least in my eyes, he does.
Do you believe that there are still alien craft at Area 51?
Well, I don't think they're not at Area 51. If they're anywhere, they're at S4. And the answer to that, I have to say yes. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it to you when we met in San Francisco, but my very, very dear friend Stuart Brown, he was the senior technical editor of Popular Science back in the 90s, and he did an incredible piece on Area 51 at my insistence. And he lives in Albuquerque. He has a very dear friend who is the chief law enforcement person for the Dulce Pueblo. And we have a vantage point of the Dulce military facility or whatever it is on Indian land, and they have no jurisdiction. If Wackenhut is securing Dulce, the Dulce spook place, they don't have any jurisdiction whatsoever on Indian land, and they can't chase you away. But once the travel restrictions are over, before I go off to camp out at the north end of the fence line at Area 51, we're going to go spend 3 or 4 days in and around Dulce to see what we can see. And hopefully it'll bear fruit. So,
since you kind of jumped over to Dulce here for a second, do you believe the story of Phil Schneider, where, for people who are not familiar with him, this is a gentleman who claimed that he was a geologist and an engineer, and he was hired by the U.S. government to help coordinate these underground bases. And when they were drilling into one at Dulce, they opened up and got into a big war with a bunch of aliens. Now, do you buy that story?
Yes and no. I really haven't delved into it, so I can't. I don't have the background to say yeah or nay.
Right.
So, but what we're going to do, a good number of the Indians and their Apaches that live in the Dulce Pueblo, a good portion of them have never ever been outside the Pueblo. And we're going to be going with a gentleman who is highly regarded in the Dulce community, actually in the Apache and Navajo community both. He speaks the dialect of the people there at the Dulce Pueblo. He said that he's asked around, and he said there are people coming out of the woodwork that will sit down with Stewart and myself and William, who is the Apache, Indian, who's going to be our more or less our guide and our focal point when we go out there. He said they've been talking about spooky things flying in the sky for 1,000 years. So is there stuff there? I'll know when we get out of this insanity that we're in right now. I'll know. I don't know now, but I hope to know once this is over and done with.
Has anybody, as we got about 3.5 minutes here before we go to break at the top of the hour, Jim, has anybody in your contacts within the military or Area 51, people who've read your books, you were close to Ben Rich, ever confirmed with you that we are indeed being visited and we have pieces of this technology?
Well, Ben indicated that. Both, I mean, in the letter he wrote to John Andrews, dated, it was June of '86, I think it was, where his quote, I got it here somewhere, here it is. Ben Ritz says, John Andrews had sent him a letter inquiring about whether he and Kelly Johnson believed in UFOs, and he said, and that's in two categories, both man-made and extraterrestrial. And he mailed a letter on a Monday, and he had a reply on Thursday from Ben, handwritten on his corporate letterhead as president. He said, "Dear John, yes, I believe in both categories. We feel everything is possible. Many of our man-made UFOs are unfunded opportunities." And he underlines the U, the F, and the O. In both categories, there are a lot of kooks and charlatans. Be cautious. Best regards, Ben Rich. This is on his corporate letterhead as president of the Lockheed Skunk Works. And to quote Jodie Foster's character in the movie Contact, if we're the only ones, what a waste of space. Now, sort of segueing into Jodie Foster's character in the movie Contact, for a couple of years, I was a docent up at Pitt Peak National Observatories. They have 22 optical telescopes and 2 radio telescopes up there. The largest optical telescope is the 4-meter, 13-foot. When it was built in 1972, it was the second largest telescope in the world, Palomar being at the time the largest. And now they're in segmented mirrors where they're 100-foot in diameter and whatever. But the 2.1-meter telescope was operated by Caltech for 5 years, where they used adaptive optics, where they would shine a ultraviolet laser up in the sky, and at 18 miles, it had to be a specific diameter. Now, the laser itself is invisible, but they'd have to call NORAD before they did it, make sure that it didn't blind any spy satellites, and make sure. And there's almost no commercial traffic in southern Arizona at night. And it goes up and it adjusts a deformable mirror 1,200 times a second. And what it does, it gets rid of the noise, it gets rid of the atmospheric distortion. And it has comparable resolution as the Hubble Space Telescope. And for 5 years in a very, very small area of our galaxy, the Milky Way, they were able to identify 8,000 exoplanets. Those are planets that are outside of our solar system. 8,000 of them.
Incredible.
And just before I left Pitt Peak, they had a volunteer coordinator that talks down to you, and I don't have time for that. And
Jim, I don't have.
Hey,
I'm going to get you to hold on because I don't want to talk down to you right now because I'm loving this conversation. Okay. More Jim Goodall on Spaced Out Radio with Hour 3 next on the Mighty SOR.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there. The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best-rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us, especially everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and on the digital side on TalkStream Live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Annuent. Annuent is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, doing a little visitation to Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and so much more. Hey, one other thing that I want to remind you. Follow us on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. You can also follow my personal account. That would be at Dave Scott SOR. We'd love to add you on there as well. Sticking with us right through this hour, we're going to drop the news, but we will do the thought of the Dave. We got longtime aviation historian James C. Goodall. He's got about 27 books out that you can find online, on Amazon, on Google, wherever you want to look. They are there. He is known as one of the grandfathers of learning about places like Area 51, aliens, UFOs, Bob Lazar, the SR71, the F-117. What haven't we covered yet, James? What haven't we covered? I mean, this has been absolutely thrilling tonight to have you here, so thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure, and this is just fun. I mean, and I love people like you. I really do. I can sit down and this is one of my passions. I mean, I've been blessed by some of the people that have come into my life. I've been blessed by some of the enemies I've made, and I don't know. I'm a lucky guy. I've had an opportunity for someone who doesn't have any advanced degrees. I wasn't an astronaut. I wasn't a lot of things, but I have had the chance to meet so many fascinating people. I was talking to my wife the night before last. I said, the only people from the military are actually the Minnesota Air Guard that ever comment or email me, they're all generals. I don't know if I collect generals as friends or whatever, but I do. But what I was talking just before the break is something that is really, really mind-boggling, because it comes from legitimate science. It comes from the senior astronomers at the National Science Foundation, and they call it AURA. It's the American Universities for Astronomical Observations. And just before I left, we had all our docents and a lot of the technical staff from Kit Feek, the astronomers and the support staff, on a all hands meeting. And this was a year ago, 2 years ago. I guess about 2 years ago. And they said, we just had a major meeting of all the astronomers in the world who are focused on exoplanet research and to identify exoplanets. And he said, based on our calculations of all the, and I guess apparently there's quite a number of them, based on input from all these astronomers around the world that are looking and identifying exoplanets, they calculate for every star in the universe, and you can't shove that number in your head. It's too big of a number. It said for every star in the universe, they calculate there's 1.5 planets. So just chew on that just for a second. The sheer number. You look outside, the most stars you can see on the clearest night are 9,000 on average. And there's probably one with 100 zeros behind it as far as the number of stars there. And you multiply that by 1.5, that's how many planets are there. But based on that absolute sheer number of orbital debris going around stars, they calculate, again, these are our brain trusts. These are our best minds in astronomy. They calculate that out of that incredible number, that there are 2 billion, and that's with a B, there are 2 billion Earth-like planets orbiting a similar brown dwarf star, such as our sun, in the inhabitable zone with liquid water.
It's amazing, isn't it?
2 billion Earth-like planets with liquid water. Liquid water sustain life as we know it. Now, there's other planets out there that may have, environments that we couldn't live in, but we have stuff at the bottom of the ocean, right next to the thermal vents that live in 700-degree water, and they're functioning without sunlight, without oxygen. So they're there. There's organisms. They found it at Chernobyl. There's organisms in that reactor room. The stuff's starting to eat the radioactive debris. So just because it doesn't conform with 2 legs, 2 arms, a head, a body, a nose, 2 eyes, an ear, a couple of ears and a mouth, just because it doesn't conform to our ideal of what life would look like, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And with 2 billion Earth-like planets out there that can sustain life as we know it, our galaxy, the Milky Way, is 4.5 billion years old. Well, the universe is 14.3 or 14.4 billion years old. So there are planets out there that have had a 10 billion year head start on our technology. And if you recall, man didn't take to the air in a powered airplane until 1903. Man didn't break the sound barrier going Mach 1 till 1947 in Chuck Yeager. Man had never gone sustained Mach 3 until late 1964 in a Blackbird. Now we're looking at just in a very, very short period of time. Can you imagine what 100 years or 1,000 years or 100,000 years or 1,000,000 years? Oh, how about 1 billion years worth of advancement? We're not alone. And and to say we're alone would be an absurd statement, The odds are that we're not. And the odds are that we've been visited. The odds are that they're here.
Well, that leads to my question. With all the people you've talked to over the years, whether it's going back to Ben Rich or anybody along those lines, has there been anybody who has tipped you off and said, hey, Jim, I've got something for you, and this involves extraterrestrials, and this proves that they are here? Now, you can't release it, but, this is for your eyes only. Have you ever had a situation like that where somebody from a higher up has given you information confirming or denying whether or not there are extraterrestrials here on this planet right now?
Okay, I'll preface it with an email that I sent out a while back. That wasn't that long ago. And I asked this person, do you believe in UFOs? And they're on the other side of the world. And he said, why? Have you seen one? I said, no, I believe they're real. And the person came back, said, they're here, but I can't tell you any more on electronic communication or talking. But this person has been retired for a bit and worked at Pine Gap, Australia. And he says, they're here. And he can hardly wait for me to, he said, when we get in an area where we're fairly close proximity, and I could get to him today, but no one's getting anywhere today. And he said, I'll sit down and I will fry your brain. The person is no longer in the super secret dark community. He's seen it. He's seen enough where he's not going to tell me anything that's going to affect national security, but he'll sure in the hell point me in the right direction and may give me some true insight of what's out there and what we can expect if and when the time comes and the information is made public. Like, and a number of people over the years say, well, how come the government hasn't released anything and this and that? And well, my answer to that is, well, maybe our government isn't in charge of the release of the information. We may be held hostage. Maybe the world's being held hostage as far as as the people in power by aliens. Linda Moten Howe. Now she was a good friend of John Andrews, my late friend John Andrews from Testers, and apparently way back, I'm talking about 20 years, 30 years ago, maybe farther. She was given a contract by the federal government and tons of videotape in 6mm and 16mm motion picture and hobbyist type of film, motion picture, movie type film of certified real UFOs. And her job was to put a 60-minute documentary together to show to the general public that, yes, they are here, we're being visited, this and that and whatever. And I don't know how far along she was into the project, but she was going through reviewing all this documentation. The government came in one day, paid her the full amount that they had contracted her for. They took, and she hadn't finished, they took all her raw tape, they took all her notes, they took all the support documents and everything else that they had lent her, and they took it from her. Now, anybody out there, I don't know if you've ever met Linda. I hope at one of these UFO conferences, if we ever get out of this lockdown, I'll have a chance to chat with her. Because this is what John Andrews told me. And this is back in probably the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And I don't know what changed the minds of the powers that be. Unless they were instructed by those who really hold the sword over their head, this is not a good idea. It's not right. Not the time. But I think the time is coming. I honestly do. I don't know. It's nothing I can put my finger on, but there's just too many things starting to come out. You have the the Tic Tacs that the F-18 guys were chasing.
Yes.
You have the thing on. You have the incident on the Nimitz, and it goes on and on and on. My boss, he just went off to the airport in the sky here not too long ago. But it was Major General Wayne Gatlin. General Gatlin was my boss, and he was with the Minnesota Air Guard. He was the chief of staff for air when I worked for him, and I asked him once, I said, General Gatlin, I said, do you believe in UFOs? He said, yeah. He said, I chased one. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, we were on alert at Duluth. We had F-94Cs at the time, and that was one of the hotter interceptors back in the mid 50s.
Yes.
It could go supersonic in a dive, and it did have an afterburner, but you could only use it for about a minute. You run out of fuel. And they got an alert from Finley Air Force Station that there was a fast-moving unknown over the middle of Lake Superior. Now, those of us who are familiar with flight operations around the Great Lakes, it is frowned upon for anybody but a large aircraft, commercial aircraft flying at altitude, to fly across Lake Superior. Lake Superior makes its own weather. Airplanes have been lost. The Edmund Fitzgerald was lost because of a storm. I mean, it just, stuff comes out of nowhere. So 3 F-94Cs take off, and they're going, like a bat out of hell. They're heading towards the rendezvous point. And this thing is now moving fairly fast. They got behind it, zigzagged around, but now it's heading due west. They're behind it. The WISO, the weapons control officer, in the backseat of the F-94, turns on his weapons radar, and as soon as he locks on, the radar dies. He reboots it. He recycles the circuit breaker, identifies the object again, turns on to lock the weapons. His radar dies. Now he's heading right towards Finley Air Force Station. This is the UFO. And all of a sudden the guys at Finley said, hey, it's gone. It was heading towards us, and it never went by us. It's gone. And General Gatlin, who was, I think, a major at the time, they were in full burner, trying to get close to this thing. And as you're coming up towards the shore, Finley's right on that shore, north shore of Lake Superior. General Gatlin told the guys at Finley, well, the reason why it's not showing up on your radar, it's directly above you. And apparently these guys ran out to take a look at it. This thing went, and this is Minnesota. I think it was in the fall, and the air is crystal clear. And if you squint, if you're looking up at the tube, even in broad daylight, you could see stars. That's how clear the sky was. And this thing went straight up and disappeared into visibility unlimited.
Incredible.
And this is a guy who is not prone to bullshit. Pardon the language. I don't know if you can swear on. Yeah, I guess you can. Maybe not. You can always blurp it out.
Yeah, that's a boo boo that we're gonna have to edit, but that's okay.
Yeah, but, and I apologize for that. But it just, they're there, and I think it's only a matter of time. And when Steven Spielberg was looking for money for E.T., he was getting shot down by everybody. Nobody wanted a movie about a little gray alien who is found by some kids and whatever. And out of nowhere, all of a sudden he had $100 million worth of seed money, which is believed it came from an organization within the Central Intelligence Agency. If you're producing or want to produce something that's favorable to their point of view, you're going to find funding. It's sort of going to appear. And we think it's over the years, a lot of the alien-related movies have been, Star Trek, Star Wars. I mean, all these aliens, they're friendly. You don't laugh with them. They've desensitized the general public in being terrified of little green men, or reptilians, or whomever. So, they're there. They're here. And according to my friend who spent many, many years at Pine Gap, they are here. And he can hardly wait to sit down and talk with me because he says, I won't tell you everything I know, but I won't tell you about it unless you ask. And you're one of the very few people who have asked. So I can hardly wait. I'm not sure where I have to go to track him down, but he said that he's traveling. Well, I think he's probably quarantined somewhere right now, not be able to go anywhere. Once all this COVID-19 are behind us, then I'm going to track him down. I have so many things on my plate, and I'm running out of time. That's why I'm so happy that Michael Schratt is sort of following in my footsteps. Michael's like my kid. He's an incredible researcher. I've known him for 10 years, and he's been at my house 10, 15 times.
Yes.
But I've never heard him give a presentation until I heard him in San Francisco. And I had to tell him, I said, Michael, I know you were good at what you do, but I was really blown away. I was incredibly pleased with your presentation. I couldn't be prouder for you. And between my mind, Paul and myself, and I can't remember who else, convinced him to do a book, to take 20 of his best UFO pieces with all the supporting documents and the artwork he's created and the line drawings and everything else, and said, you got to put together a chapter, at least book 1, volume 1, on the 20 most significant UFO encounters to mankind. And I said, you do it chronologically. So you take the oldest one first and work your way forward. And he's all excited about it. He's about 80% done with gathering everything together. Now he just has to expand the verbiage as far as his interpretation of what he's seen, what he's read, what he's discovered. And he shared a lot of that at the San Francisco UFO Congress. So that will be part of a new book. And I'm looking forward to it. He's going to spend about a week. He's going to spend about a week with us.
We have about a minute to go before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour. James Goodall will be with us for most of the next hour, as well as we continue with Spaced Out Radio here. When you take a look at, the research, and we're going to get more into this, what I want you to think about coming out of the break is, how does the public know what craft are ours or what craft are theirs from the sky? Because when we look up, we really don't know. We don't know what the toys that the militaries around the world are playing with, especially the United States. We don't know what toys the off-worlders have when they come and visit us, maybe even take us for a ride every now and again. James, I'm going to get you to hold on, and I want you to answer that when we come back. James Goodall is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He's the author of 27 books that can be found on Amazon, Google, bookstores around the world, looking into all things strange, weird, Black Ops, the SR71, stealth technology, Area 51. We got him here for another 25 minutes or so, and we continue right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters in the mountains of British Columbia. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out a Bumblefoot and keep up to date with Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Now, normally at this time, we head out right into the news. However, our guest, James Goodall, is going to stick with us right till almost the top of the hour when we get to the thought of the day. James, thank you so much for joining us. We want to remind everybody you can find any one of his 27 books on Amazon, Google, anywhere online or in bookstores. Yeah, if you like Area 51, black projects, and all that dark, fun stuff, James is the guy whose books you want to buy. James, welcome back.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Right before the break, I'd asked you a question, and I'll just reiterate that question, which is, you know, there's a lot of people who stare up at the sky at night trying to figure out what's a UFO, what's not. Or, you know, the black triangles, these rods, these orbs, these discs, whatever it may be, strange contrails, you know, that look like old telephone cords, you know, ripping through the sky. And how do we know what is ours and what is theirs when we look up in the sky?
I don't really think there's a way to tell. I really don't. I mean, Ben states in his letter to John Andrews 35 years ago that we refer to our we refer to our UFOs as unfunded opportunities, underline the U, the F, and the O. Now, if it was flying before we knew that we didn't have that capability, then I would say, yeah. If you had an observation, a photograph, maybe a 16 millimeter high resolution or a video high resolution. Well, the thing is so frustrating with UFO sightings today. Most everybody is going to shoot it with their cell phone, which is really, really good if you're going to photograph your kids or a car or an airplane on a ramp or whatever it is. But if it's at 5,000 feet or 10,000 feet, or if it's night, you're just going to have a dot. You're just going to have a flickering light that's bouncing around the place. What we need, and I'm hoping one of these days it'll happen, is we need someone with a good Nikon or a good Canon. I mean, a real, not to say that cameras on cell phones aren't real, but a real piece of optical equipment, something that gives a high resolution, really sharp definition, and it's not until someone can take pictures like that, or the general public will say, well, it's just a dot or it's just a fuzzy thing, and maybe it was photoshopped on or whatever. We need that, but I think because the general public has been so brainwashed to believe that well, there's no such thing as UFOs, and anybody who promotes UFOs has got to be a little bit, well, they're not all right. There's something wrong with them. They're talking about UFOs. And because that mentality has been beat into our brains forever, that I think the only way that the general public or the world in general is going to say, oh my God, they're here, they're real, it's going to be like a Mars attack type of event where it lands on the Rose Garden during a live presidential news conference or news gathering. That's the only way they're going to believe it, because everything else is, while it's computer graphics or CGI, it can't be real. Well, there's photographs taken with Polaroids. You can't fake a Polaroid that shows, the Gulf Breeze UFOs. Those didn't make any sense to people who looked at them. I have a friend of mine who spent most of his Air Force career. His job was looking at U-2 SR71 and KH-11 imagery. And he was sent the original Polaroids from the Gulf Breeze incident. He did all his calculations. He said it would be absolutely impossible to fake it, because one, you can't fake a Polaroid, and two, there was no noise associated with everything at night. There was no noise associated with it. It would have to be a helicopter or a hot air balloon or something to have this thing hovering over Gulf Breeze like it did. So until we have hard evidence to determine whether it is ours or theirs, it's probably a flip of the coin to know which one it is. Right now, I would still lean on it fairly heavy that it's not ours. But based on what Dan wrote in his letter, I don't know. It's just a gut feel. I really don't know. But there's so many people that do know. And why they're not talking just slays me. And I know why majority of them don't talk, because they're still employed in the industry. And what gives them access to all this really cool stuff is a security clearance, whether it's secure clearance or a top secret with special access required. They're not, if someone were to tell me something about UFOs, and I broadcasted or whatever, and the guy was still working, they track him down. It's the people that have worked in the industry that may have dealt with this type of stuff. As long as they need their security clearance to work and to have a livelihood, they're not going to talk. But as soon as they retire, like my friend, when he retired from the spook business, I think he said he spent 15 or 20 years at Pine Gap. And that's Australia's Area 51. And we have a lot of our people there. And but that's who's going to have to spill the beans, unless something lands at a Nellis Air Show or flies over the Rose Parade, and it beams down, someone like the Predator in Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie. It's going to take something like that for the general public to go, holy buckets, they have been here, they are here. And maybe the old cartoon is, the aliens want to have you for dinner. Well, not as a guest, but as a meal. That may be another reason why they're not overly excited about releasing information on it. But it's going to have to take a major landing at a popular place, a place where live TV broadcast is going on, before anybody will acknowledge it. Now, along the same lines, I've been to 213 Air Force Guard and Reserve bases to photograph, and I usually deal with public affairs in most cases. And I was at Cannon Air Force Base. This had to be late 80s. I was there to photograph the F-111s. And my public affairs guy is a young man. He's staff sergeant, nice guy. We're in his car. We're heading out to the flight line. And he said that he had just transferred to Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico from Bentwaters, Wheat Ridge. Oh, that's where the UFO landed.
No kidding.
I asked him, I said, oh, you were at Bentwaters. So were you there when the UFO landed? He slams on the brakes of his car. And this kid was a black kid. And he started turning gray. He said, you mention that one more time, I will have you escorted off this base under armed guard. Do you understand? Drop the subject. Yes, sir. I mean, this spooked the guy out. Why was he spooked out? If it wasn't a real event, I scared the hell out of him that I even knew about it. I mean, half the world knows about it. But the fact that I asked him the question, and it had only been a very, very short time since he'd been at Cannon. It's been 3 years at Bentwaters. And apparently, since he was in public affairs, he was intimately involved or intimately aware of what happened out there. So are they real? Are they ours? Are they theirs? We won't know until there's a public disclosure. And even then, you may have to question it.
All right. I want to move on here because getting back to Area 51, you mentioned earlier about a new aircraft coming out as the B-21, which
Correct.
is kind of interesting, which is going to be another, flat type B-2, a miniature version of the B-2 bomber with no tail wings or rudders or anything along those lines. Now, you believe they are testing this at Area 51 right now. How do you learn that?
I've been told they're testing that at Area 51 from I have a number of very dear friends who are very close, have very close military contacts at Nellis and at Edwards. And both of them said, you should go spend some time out in the desert. And I said, why is that? And I said, you'll see things that have been talked about in the public, but no one's seen them yet. And I said, he's talking about the B-21, and they just smile. They won't say yes or no. But so I believe the B-21 technology demonstrator, and basically what it is, the very, very first B-2 design was for high altitude penetration. Going there at 50,000 feet, usually at night. The airplane's a dark gray. It's invisible to most air defense radars. And but then about halfway through the building up of the first aircraft, the Air Force came in and said, no, we've changed our mind. We don't want just a high altitude penetrator. We want a low altitude penetrator, then high to get the heck out of Dodge. And if you look at the drawings of the original B-2, it only had 3 trailing edge points. And when they redesigned the airframe for high altitude, low altitude, high altitude flight, they moved the inlets and they expanded the control surfaces on the airplane, and the back of the airplane grew in size, and now you have 5 trailing edge points. Now the drawings, the tantalizing bits of information that they have on the B-21, the Raider, which is designed to replace the B-2, the B-1, but not the B-52, which has been flying since 1953. It's still going to be operational. But the original one only has the 3 points. So what you're probably looking at is a original version of the B-2, but smaller, a bit smaller. Instead of having 4 engines, 2 engines. Instead of having 2 side-by-side bomb bays, 1. and have a weapons load capability of 30,000 pounds. And the reason why I say 30,000 pounds is that's what a mop weighs, and that's a massive ordnance penetrator that will go through 200 feet of reinforced concrete, count the floors as it's going through your underground bunker, and whatever you dial a floor number is, blows up with 30,000 pounds of high explosives.
My friend, on that note, we are going to get to what we call the thought of the Dave around here. And
one of my favorite things.
We'll let you play along here because I know you like it. Hold on. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What do you think the military and government are hiding out at Area 51? We got some interesting responses tonight, Jim. Real interesting responses. All right, let's start with one on Twitter. There's nothing there, hasn't been anything there for years. Art Bell drew so much attention to that area that they moved it to one of the nuclear submarine bases, probably did it with unscreened open lines. All the Area 51 security is just for show. Mr. Skeptic, screw Area 51. I want to know more about Area 57, and he posts a picture of a Heinz 57 bottle. Alien. Goddess Michelle. Probably all the details of all the lies told by every politician ever. They probably just gave up considering recent events. Interesting. God of Thunder. If the government and military has something, no one will know about it, not even Spartan 1 and Spartan 2. Talking about Linda Moulton Howe. Eric with a K. You know, we're Eric with a K's fourth favorite show out there. He believes that we're going to find tall...
How come you're not first?
Well, I'm first in Canada, just number 4 overall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He believes we're going to find tall whites, grays, and Norwegian ETs with 28 teeth. What do you think of that, Jim?
I don't know where you got the teeth bit.
Me either. That's it. That's Eric with a K.
Yeah.
That's Eric with a K. Let's go to Mike.
What is
Michael says we're going to find Jimmy Hoffa, because they got to figure out how to get those cement boots off. VE says hazardous waste because they didn't burn stealth bomber scrap and poison a lot of workers there. The place is probably a dump of toxic crap. You can't run a place like that without a small mess. Just wonder where they moved it all. What do you think of that, Jim?
Well, Area 51, they've been expanding it forever. They put the new big hangar in. They've put new hangars down on the south end. They refer to as Baja. They don't use the 27,000-foot runway anymore because they probably have an alternate site. And I asked a buddy of mine from the Skunk Works, who was in charge of flight tests of U-2, D-21, A-12, and a HAB Blue. I said, what do you need a 27,000-foot runway for? I said, because something takes 9,000 feet to take off. I said, well, Blackbird can take off in 2,100 feet. B-2 can take off and less than that. So you need something that, in the best of times, takes 9,000 feet to get off the ground. And if you have to abort right at rotation, it takes double that distance to stop. That's why there was a 27,000-foot runway there at Area 51.
Gotcha.
They've since abandoned it. You look at satellite images; they have big yellow X's across the whole thing. So apparently it's not being used anymore, which would lead me to believe that maybe whatever used it has moved to a different location.
All right,
and
let's
I've been
burn
told
through
there is an operational.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been told there is an operational base in the extreme northeast corner of Nevada.
All right, let's get through a few more of these.
Where?
Debbie is saying it's a military base to build with the alien technology. Wright-Patterson, caves, many underground, has UFOs and aliens too working in them. Oh my. Tim, started out as testing in the early days, but think there's areas like S4, and I think Bob Lazar was correct. Edward Teller recommended him, put him in touch. Robin, hiding alien technology to use future weapons and using alien DNA on human subjects. Ooh, dark there. Marty, they're hiding aliens, alien hybrids, and alien technology, all of it illegal. So in reality, the U.S. government is hiding its own brand of illegal alien trafficking. Gail, the security at Area 51 is no joking matter. They are armed and willing to shoot, which tells us they're protecting something, and Janet Airlines still flies there. Heather, Nightmare Hall Level 7 science experiments on humans. Oh, that's pleasant. John, I think Area 51 is a decoy. Renee, down in New Zealand. Nothing anymore if you're referring to alien or alien technology. That has been moved elsewhere long ago and holds nothing further. Cable guy Matt gets the final word tonight. The interesting stuff is kept at S4 or right, Pat. Thank you to everybody taking part in the Thought of the Day today. Captain Shirk will bring her news tomorrow, and I'll read it all for you. And a big thanks to our good friend here, Mr. James C. Goodall. You can find all of his books online at Amazon, Google, Barnes & Noble, bookstores around North America. And hey, he even travels up to Abbotsford, British Columbia to go to the air show when it's held, so you could shake his hand there as well. Thanks, Jim, for coming on tonight, man.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to
pleasure,
seeing you
man.
this summer. Look
Absolutely, my
summer.
friend. You hold on for a couple seconds here. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Special thanks to everybody in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, where you can get a little snarky with us, and you know we love it all. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. We get to do it all again tomorrow. I hope you take the time to join us. We'll be here. We hope you'll be here. And let's just have some fun and get together and hang out. Talk to you then. Good night.